Live, local, social. It's time for the Splash Live, Greater West Bloomfield's news magazine show. On cable, on the web, and all over social media. Featuring stories from close to home, starring people like you. Live from Greater West Bloomfield, it's the Splash Live.
Welcome, friends and neighbors, to the Splash Live. I'm Tyler Keith. Thanks for joining us as we go over the latest from right here in Greater West Bloomfield. Playoff basketball season is underway, and all roads in District 26 move through West Bloomfield High School. Both of our local schools, West Bloomfield and Orchard Lake St. Mary's, have their sights set on championship weekend at the Breslin this March. But the journey began this week with the district rounds at West Bloomfield High School, where it is win or stay home for both the Lakers and the Eaglets. Here's what happened in both of their games last night. Two big games for Greater West Bloomfield on the hardwood on Wednesday night. First matchup, West Bloomfield takes on the Walled Lake Northern Knights. First look, first quarter, Northern strikes and steals a three-point lead. West B would answer with a quick run and a trip to the line for Nasir Moore and snag a small lead of their own. Shortly after, a drive for Northern and a trip to Swat City, courtesy of Jaden Brown. A low-scoring first quarter has Laker Nation up by 6. Back and forth scoring and stout defense keeps it close throughout quarter number 2. We go to the half, all tied up at 19. In the second half, both teams content to take it to the cup and make it tough. That means foul trouble and a close game late in the third. That would remain into the fourth. Just about 60 seconds left. A pull-up J from Ryan Hood ties it at 38. Final play of regulation, a dish to the corner. Stoyanovsky driving the lane over the hoop and just off. No heroics. We're going to overtime. It stayed close, stayed physical, but in the end, it was West Bloomfield that was the last to strike. Harold Hayes seals the deal with a late and one. Lakers win 49-44. On to O-Lake. Eaglets taking on Walled Lake Central, and from the jump, it's a foot race and a shootout. Banks kicks it out to Artrell Burt for a triple, one of many early on. Orchard Lake St. Mary's jumps out to a 17-5 lead after one. Second quarter, Central heats up. Anthony Camacho, it's a three. He'd do his part to keep the Vikings in this one, but O-Lake was on a different mission. Halftime rolls around, and the Eaglets lead by double digits. Third quarter, the distribution center opens. Chad Willis dishes and screens to Elijah Hines, and he hits nylon. Orchard Lake would head into the fourth, up 19 points. This one would soon go into the deep freeze. Eaglets stymieing the Vikings, a bittersweet end for the Walled Lake seniors. For Orchard Lake, a thunderous victory, which means Friday is yet another Orchard Lake Road showdown, this time for the district title. That's right, Friday night is the big game. Orchard Lake St. Mary's Eaglets, West Bloomfield Lakers. The winner moves on to the regional round of the MHSAA Division I boys basketball playoffs. The loser, they take Orchard Lake Road home until next basketball season. Stay tuned right here for more coverage from both of these teams, especially Friday night and into next week as we get ready for the regional round. One of our local teams will be moving on. It's a big game, but not uncharted territory for either the Lakers or the Eaglets. Both teams in similar spots this season in the win-loss column, but O-Lake, they have a very different recent history to their neighbors to the south. We go live to West Bloomfield High School and our very own Jake Schaff for even more preview coverage of Friday's Orchard Lake Road showdown. Jake.
Tyler, I don't know if you could feel the excitement coming through the screen right now, but there is an electricity that is going through Orchard Lake Road right now. And as you said, that can only mean one thing. With this sense of wonder and this competition in the air, it is time for another Orchard Lake showdown. This is what the community wants to see, Tyler. Two dynamic teams duking it out on the basketball court to achieve greatness. And not only that, but two teams with a plethora of history between them. As the previous Orchard Lake showdown took place just last year, with the Eaglets prevailing over the Lakers 69-44. Now, both teams have had a bit of a rocky start in the regular season, but have truly come alive as the playoffs have gone on. And both teams are well aware that on Friday night, it is going to be a showdown and a very difficult opponent that each team is facing. Todd Covert, the coach of the Orchard Lake St. Mary Eaglets, had this to say on what the team needs to prepare for if they want to stand a chance against the Lakers.
It comes down to playing defense and rebound and take care of the ball. You know, we know they're going to pressure us, and they're really well coached, and they got a lot of good players on that team, and it'll take every bit of us to have a chance.
Of course, Tyler, when it comes to sports like this, and I'm not just talking about basketball, but there's more to gain from competition than just winning. Being out on that court, sharing these experiences with the team you fought through every single battle with, it forges those bonds and creates lasting memories. Eric Pierce, the athletic director with West Bloomfield High School, spoke to us on what the basketball experience is truly like.
You always remember that moment in high school when you had the big game, the big shot, the big memory that you have. And we always say in West Bloomfield Athletics, if you had those memories, if you went through West Bloomfield Athletics and you'd say, hey, I gladly trade it to go back in and play another 4 years for WB, then we're doing our job here. But the memories last a lifetime, and we always reminisce, and we always laugh, and we always have a good time.
Eaglets versus Lakers. Game takes place Friday, February 27th, right here at West Bloomfield High School. Will the Eaglets assert their dominance once again, or will the Lakers power through and take their revenge? Either way, Tyler, there's a lot to look forward to here, and it's going to be a very fun game.
Yeah, the Eaglets' 2 recent trips to the Breslin for state championship weekend on the boys' side, including bringing home a state title in one of those appearances as well. Todd Covert, a championship head coach, and Orchard Lake St. Mary's lifer. He's going to have his team prepared for that game. I saw him watching the entirety of that West Bloomfield game on Wednesday night against Walled Lake Northern, and he was very intently taking notes. He had pages, Jake, he had as many notes on his lap at that game as I've got here on the table for the Splash Live every single day. It's going to be a big game. And then the same thing was going on with Arnett Jordan, his team at West Bloomfield, very intently watching Orchard Lake and that dominant win on Wednesday against Walled Lake Central. These are 2 teams that, you look on paper, they didn't have a whole lot of wins this season. They lost way more games than they won over the course of the regular season. But strength of schedule, something in common for these 2 teams, that's going to play a factor on Friday night. Very similar styles of play, physical, attack the basket, get your shooters open. One of these teams that comes out of this district could very well make their way to the Breslin and be a big threat in D1.
You're right, Tyler. I mean, like you said, tough records this season, very difficult schedules they've had to go through. But it's like when I spoke with Arnett Jordan a few days ago, this is what these hard schedules are all about. Like, yeah, it was a bit rough in the regular season, but you come to the playoffs, and that is when you truly show what you are capable of. And that's been the case for both of these teams that we've seen all throughout this weekend, all throughout this season. So either way, one team is going to be taking home all the glory, and it's going to be exciting to see.
The Orchard Lake Road Showdown. We've seen this on the boys basketball side in the playoffs in the last couple of years. We saw it on the girls side last year as well. Both of these teams coming into West Bloomfield High School, where championship journeys have begun in recent seasons in Division I. Live in West Bloomfield, Jake Schaff, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tyler.
6 p.m. tip-off on Friday night. We'll have our coverage for you here on the Splash Live to kick off next week, where one of these teams will be in the regional round. It all goes through Orchard Lake Road. North versus South. Orchard Lake St. Mary's versus West Bloomfield. Home court advantage goes to West B on Friday. Of course, on the court, we keep score on the scoreboard and we measure games in wins and losses, but sometimes our local sports mean a lot more than what happens in those trophy games.
I think especially with the internet and social media, it's really easy to separate yourself from and feel like you're in a bigger world. And I love that this hometown community feel actually brings you into the real world, brings you into what you're doing every day, and allows you to interact with your peers.
Lisa Van Houten grew up in West Bloomfield and lives nearby, the mother of Walled Lake Northern basketball player Logan Van Houten. For parents like Lisa, sports provide an outlet for activity for their kids, but also a sense of connection between communities with strong ties to their neighbors.
I feel like it brings us all together in the sense that we're all coming together to this event. We're all cheering for each other. We're all in the stands rooting for all the boys, making sure if somebody makes a basket, we're like all rooting for each other. But I also think even from a community, Northern versus West Bloomfield, it allows us to like cheer each other on because we're neighboring schools.
Lynn Robertson sees this firsthand every night of the Lakers basketball season, where she is part of the team that handles ticket sales. Robertson told me the games bring far more than just parents and peer support.
I mean, we see more than just parents and families. We see a lot of community members that don't have any children or grandchildren playing. They just like to come and watch a great game. Well, I think it's important for the high school and the team and those that work for the schools to see that our community supports us. That our school is important. We do a lot for the community. And it would be a good thing for them to participate, to see what our school has to offer, because besides sports, there's so many other things, and they need to know about those.
At local schools like West Bloomfield and Orchard Lake St. Mary's, the community support does not go unnoticed by the players, the coaches, or the athletics staff. An important reminder of what sports means beyond the court.
That's what high school sports is about. It's about community and a lot of these kids know each other, and some are really good friends.
Anytime that you have teams that are representing a school, they show some of the best that we have to offer in the school district, and they can feel the support that they receive from the student body. And it's always that source of pride that you have when you're out there and you're playing in front of your friends, you're playing in front of your classmates, you're playing in front of your peers, and you're playing in front of your community.
It means a lot. It means a lot actually, because sports actually brings together West Bloomfield.
In basketball, or really in any sport, you win in the playoffs, it brings you glory for that season. But the way that sports brings our communities together, that creates glory that spans the generation. We'll have a whole lot of glory on that basketball court happening on Friday night. Again, the Orchard Lake Road Showdown, West Bloomfield High School taking on Orchard Lake St. Mary's for the District 26 Championship. Tip-off 6 p.m. sharp at WB. They disrupt your commute, they ding your car, and sometimes they are the difference between you returning close to home for a relaxing evening or calling your insurance agent. Never fun. Potholes, one of the greatest villains in Michigan. When temperatures fluctuate as much as they have recently, this is when they have their time to shine. How are they addressed by local authorities such as the Road Commission for Oakland County? Craig Bryson from the Road Commission joins us to dive into that subject right now on the Splash Live. Craig, appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you, Tyler. Good to be here.
Glad to have you on to talk about this. I'm sure it's something on the minds of a lot of people. We've seen a lot of these potholes pop up, especially in the last couple of weeks. Part of that, I'd imagine, is because we went from having a frigidly cold winter, not uncommon for us here in southeast Michigan, to all of a sudden it feels like spring outside. Punxsutawney Phil might be full of crap in 2026. How does that weather pattern, that weather behavior, impact our roadways, especially when it's such a sudden change?
Well, that as you implied, that's the perfect recipe for the creation of potholes. When you have it freezing and the water gets into the cracks in the roads, freezes, it expands, then the temperatures rise, that water melts and it leaves a void in the road. As soon as a car drives over it, the road collapses and you've got a pothole. And obviously we've seen that all over the county multiple times as we've had these fluctuations in temperature.
And what's the science behind that, too? Because we know that these temperatures obviously have an impact on our roads. The freezing temperatures, all the salt and the other debris from the winter can have an impact. But scientifically, when that weather pattern changes, how does the way that our roads are built factor in to how these potholes pop up?
Well, the part of the problem really is not so much science, but it's age and dollars. The problem, the area where we have the problems are the roads that are old. It's not the roads that we've resurfaced or reconstructed recently. It's the roads that we have not yet been able to reconstruct or resurface that have a lot of cracks in them because the pavement is old and the moisture gets into those cracks. And that's where the trouble starts. The moisture goes down, it freezes inside the pavement, it expands. And as I said, it creates the void that then becomes the pothole. So it's really a question of those older pavements, those older roads that are the real problem.
The road commission, when we have a weather event, will clear the main roads first, those major thoroughfares like freeways and highways in greater West Bloomfield. Orchard Lake Road, one of the first that will be on the docket for the road commission for Oakland County. And so when you have these potholes pop up, is it the same sort of priority, or does severity play into how you respond to them organizationally?
It's both. First and foremost, for our regular routine pothole patching, safety dictates, just like with plowing and salting, that we do the busier roads first, the roads that carry the most traffic moving at the highest speeds. However, when we learn about one of those big tire bursting potholes, that immediately becomes a priority wherever it is. We don't want to see anybody get a flat tire if we can help it, or damage a rim or worse. So we will immediately go to fix those potholes. If it's after hours and we're not in, we'll bring in crews to fix those. Those are critical. And that's where, frankly, we rely a lot on the public to tell us about those, because they can develop almost instantaneously, almost anywhere. And while we're out, we can't be everywhere all the time. So when people let us know about those, we'll get on those right away.
And it's a little bit different when you have city roads or local roads in our cities and our townships here in Greater West Bloomfield or otherwise. How does the Road Commission collaborate with our local communities when their roads, maybe not those major thoroughfares, are experiencing similar issues?
Well, each community that has jurisdiction over its roads is responsible for the maintenance of those roads. So, for example, in West Bloomfield Township, we have jurisdiction over all the roads. So we handle all of those. In the cities and villages, we have a mix where some of the main roads are ours and some of them belong to the cities and villages. And we cannot legally spend our money on their roads, and they can't legally spend their money on our roads. So we each take care of our own road systems.
And so when you have potholes, if it's on a city road, probably should call City Hall. When it's on one of those major roads, the Road Commission for Oakland County would be your first point of contact. For more information, rcocweb.org. You can also follow the Road Commission for Oakland County for updates on our local roadways, facebook.com/RoadCom or @RoadCom on Facebook for more info. Craig Bryson joins us from the Road Commission for Oakland County. We've seen a lot of potholes lately, and they're on the docket addressing that each and every day across Greater West Bloomfield and around Oakland County. What are some of the fixes that are applied to these potholes, Craig? Because the reality of it is we're still just right now, as we're talking today in late February, we could be 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, have another set of snowstorms, another unthawing again. Are these temporary fixes or are these permanent fixes that you're applying to these potholes?
They are not permanent fixes. They are temporary fixes. The only material that is available to use in the winter is something called cold patch. It's specifically designed for use in the winter. It remains malleable even in below freezing temperatures, so our crews can shovel it and put it in the holes. The problem is, though, it is not the same kind of asphalt that's available in the summer and the spring when the asphalt plants are open. And it works well in some situations where the road is dry and where the road around the pothole is solid. But if we're patching a hole where the road is crumbling around the patch and where there's water already in the hole, odds are it's not going to last that long, that the road will continue to crumble around it, and that moisture will prevent it from lasting an awfully long time. But again, it's the only material that is available this time of year, specifically designed for this use. But the ideal solution is when the asphalt plants open in the spring to use what we call hot mix, much closer to an asphalt-like pavement that we use when we're repaving roads, and that lasts much longer.
So how long does that end up lasting, or is there a more permanent solution outside of either doing that or, as you mentioned earlier on, a fully new repaving of the road?
Yeah, a cold patch can last anywhere from a couple hours to theoretically a couple of years. It really depends on what the road condition is around that pothole. But the real solution is to resurface roads. Potholes, in the best scenario, are just a temporary solution. The real solution is to put down new asphalt, either reconstruct the road or just put down new asphalt. If the road is in moderately decent shape, we can put new asphalt right on top of the existing road. Those solutions will get us more than likely at least 5 years. A reconstruction can get us 20 or 30 years. So those are the real solutions.
Craig Bryson joins us on the Splash Live today. We're talking about potholes. If you've seen them pop up in the community, think about it. Local road, you should call City Hall. If you're in West Bloomfield Township, even call Town Hall. They'll communicate with the Road Commission on repairing those roadways, those major thoroughfares. Think Middle Belt, think Orchard Lake Road, even Cass Lake in some different parts of greater West Bloomfield. That's going to be more along the lines of something the Road Commission for Oakland County will address. Craig, if people in our community see those potholes come up on Orchard Lake Road or any of those other major thoroughfares in our communities that I just mentioned, what should they do? How do they go about getting that word to the Road Commission?
Right, and we do appreciate that information. They can either call us or they can go to the website, as you mentioned, www.rcocweb.org. There's a button at the top of the page to report issues. You click on that and select potholes. There's a form you can fill out that tells us exactly where it is. If it's an emergency pothole that's causing flat tires or could potentially cause crashes, please call us. And the number is 877-858-4804. Those are the best ways to get a hold of us.
Another way to find that information, rcocweb.org. Craig Bryson with us as we talk about potholes today. Other than, of course, calling in those potholes to get them repaired as quickly as possible by the Road Commission for Oakland County, what other steps can drivers take as they may be aware of potholes being in the vicinity as they're driving throughout our community, or if they're coming up on one, to protect their vehicle, prevent that damage we often see this time of year?
Yeah, because of the nature of the weather this time of year, you never know when or where a pothole is going to pop up. So, the best thing you can do is slow down, be aware of your environment, assume that there may be potholes, and just take it slow, particularly on those roads. If you've noticed them in the past, they probably will be there again in the future. So just slow down on those roads in particular. Don't swerve, just kind of like deer. Don't swerve into oncoming traffic to avoid them. Better to get a flat than have a head-on collision. But if you slow down and take your time, hopefully you'll hit them with less severity and hopefully minimal damage.
Craig, anything else that our audience should be aware of regarding potholes or other common issues we see as winter weather fluctuates, or in the weeks ahead as we get toward that final transition from winter to spring?
Well, one thing I think a lot of people don't realize is that while there are certainly more potholes than any of us would like this year, there are actually far fewer than in recent past years. Since we got some additional funding from the state starting in 2017, we've resurfaced more than 600 miles of roads. Most of those roads were the ones that were most prone to having potholes. So we've repaired a lot of the worst roads. So there are actually far fewer potholes, believe it or not, this year than in recent past years. Again, any potholes are too many, but fewer is better. And we're in better shape. We will resurface more roads in this year and the coming years and gradually chip away at those roads that are most likely to have them.
And maybe one more thing that makes all this construction we see around Oakland County a little bit less frustrating is going back earlier to our conversation where you said, hey, those newer roads less likely are going to have those potholes pop up than on some of the elder ones in our community. Craig, always appreciate your information. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate it.
More information on rcocweb.org. You can also follow the Road Commission for Oakland County on their Facebook page. That's at RoadCom, facebook.com/RoadComm. We'll take a break on the Splash Live. Plenty more to get to on the program today, including a brand new destination for you to go when the big game is going to be on TV right here in West Bloomfield. Stay with us. Live, local, social. The Splash Live returns after this.
We'll be right back with the Splash Live.
Hi, I'm Chris Fry, Park Superintendent, West Bloomfield Parks. Congratulations, Civic Center TV, on 1 million views on YouTube. Thank you for all you do in the community, and thank you for having me on The Splash throughout the season to talk about activities out in the parks. Chris Fry, proud to be one in a million.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Carefully managed and sustainable forests are essential to Michigan, so wildlife has a home. Birds will thrive. Fish in our lakes and streams can enjoy clean water, and so all the people of Michigan can enjoy the benefits of the forest too. In fact, every branch of forestry ensures that future generations will always have a tree for life and forests for a lifetime. To learn how sustainable forestry benefits your life, visit michigan.gov/forests for a lifetime.
Find local municipal meetings at our program schedule on civiccentertv.com. Find when your meetings air live or when they're replaying on our Civic Center TV live stream. Find it all at civiccentertv.com and click schedule at the top of the screen.
And now, back to the Splash, live.
We're live, local, social, all across Greater West Bloomfield on the Splash Live. Welcome back. I'm Tyler Keefe. Thank you for joining us today and for following along with all of the latest from West Bloomfield, Orchard Lake, Keegle Harbor, and Sylvan Lake on our Facebook page at Civic Center TV 15 and everywhere else, Instagram, X, YouTube, also at Civic Center TV. Appreciate you joining us. If you're looking for a new place in Greater West Bloomfield to enjoy the big game, well, look, the Lions are finally good. The Tigers and Red Wings are on the rise. The Pistons might just win it all. You're going to want a place to go where there's going to be some excitement, some other fans from in the community, and it's right in your backyard. New place is going to pop up very soon on Orchard Lake Road. It's called Game Day Social, and it may become the destination for the big game right here in West Bloomfield. Joining me with more information, all the juicy details, is Osam Zabir, who is from Game Day Social, joining us on the Splash Live. Osam, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure, Tyler. Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you on the show as we get ready for this brand new bar coming in to Greater West Bloomfield. Tell us a little bit about the experience. What sets Game Day Social apart from some of the other sports bars?
Well, it's going to start with the vibe and the energy that we want to curate for our guests that join us. Fortunately, being in this time of our lives where we can actually enjoy watching local sports, whether it's the Pistons, Red Wings, Lions, Tigers, we're all performing very well. Our college teams are doing great. Even, local sport, the Olympics, we finally won the gold. So, all those opportunities really curate a unique opportunity for our guests to come in and really enjoy, something that we feel the area needs and something that we're excited to provide. And I think it's going to be amazing atmosphere. That's what we're working to develop and to build for the residents of West Bloomfield.
And something different, too, because you want to create that place that is that destination that people will go to when the big game's coming up. They don't want to go miles outside of their community, or they don't want to go to a smaller bar necessarily that they may not be able to talk to the person sitting next to them and enjoy the game and have that fan experience. So, in your new environment that's going to be on Orchard Lake Road, how are you going to be able to fit all of that in and create that experience that's still got that intimate environment for friends and family to enjoy a good meal?
Well, I think it's the atmosphere that we're developing. We were very fortunate to work with some amazing designers, and we kind of explained to them, what we're looking for. We're looking for a elevated experience for our guests. We want our food and our cocktail program to shine through what we're doing. We definitely want to establish ourselves as a place that people go to for the big game, whatever team that they're following. And at the same time, just for an amazing dinner. If your team isn't playing that night, or you're looking for a great bite of food or an excellent beverage, we want to be there to service all of those needs.
I got to ask this because the ownership group's gone to the township for a while to bring this forward. Obviously, they want to bring another great restaurant to Greater West Bloomfield. Your ownership group has others right here in our community and in surrounding areas, but a sports bar expected to open near the beginning of summer. You look at the Pistons' record. Any planning behind that, having a sports bar possibly right before the Pistons are going to be in the NBA Finals potentially?
And it's funny, we want to be that destination where people come back because their team had great luck while they were watching the game with us, right? And we want to definitely be there for that, for the Stanley Cup Championship, and the World Cup starts in the middle of June. And there's a lot of soccer fans in the area. So, we're soccer fans. We're sports fans. We love sports. We're all about it. We want to be the place where people come and do their fantasy football drafts. We want to be the destination where, again, people celebrate the championships and the victories that we've had. And, worst case scenario, you get to talk about the defeats and how we can be better the next game coming up. But yeah, I mean, the Pistons are doing great, and it's a great time to be a fan. We've all gone through those bumps and bruises of the difficulties our teams have gone through to get to where they're at now. So it's great to be a part of it and to see them thriving. We're ready to celebrate all of that with our guests.
You're going to be on Orchard Lake Road in the Boardwalk Shopping Center. That's right across the street from a couple of the medical facilities, the Tesla dealership. It's down the road just south of the old Orchard Fitness on the boulevard on Orchard Lake Road, right in the heart of the community. What went into the decision to put the bar in that position of the township, right there in what's called the town center?
Well, our team is from West Bloomfield. Our family still lives in West Bloomfield. A lot of my friends, a lot of my, people that I've grown up with all live in West Bloomfield. And our team looked for a location for, I'd say, the better part of the last 15 years. And we've walked through a lot of spaces. We've, hemmed and hawed at, what makes a place really successful and, what we can do to kind of set up the location portion of it. And when this opportunity came up, we knew it was the right one. It's a space that's going to have a very quaint, elevated environment, and the surrounding area is perfect for exactly what we're looking for with all the development that's going on from a residential standpoint, from all the businesses and medical groups. People want a delicious, fast lunch. They want to enjoy themselves while they're watching a game, and we feel like we can provide all of that. We've spent a lot of time developing our menu, developing our cocktail and our beverage program. So we're just super excited about rolling it out for everybody.
Osam Zavir is with us from Game Day Social, a new sports bar on its way to West Bloomfield, right in time for all those summer sports events, the World Cup, which is coming to the U.S. this summer, as well as possibly an NBA Finals run for the Detroit Pistons, and so many other events to come as we get into later portion of the summer, next fall with the Lions, and so much more. More information can be found GameDaySocialBar.com. Expected opening on Orchard Lake Road in May of 2026. Osam, you mentioned that your whole team is from West Bloomfield. You've been looking for years, your ownership group, to bring a restaurant like this, a bar, to West Bloomfield. For any restaurant owner, they don't go, and any business owner really, they don't go into a new venture hoping that it goes maybe a little bit well, maybe they get a couple of years. They want it to be a long-haul success. And does it change that mindset, that approach, the motivation? How does that change for your team? Because this is your home.
I think it's the confidence from our experience. We're very tenured as far as being in the industry. We know what it takes to run a successful business from a restaurant perspective. It starts with The atmosphere that we're developing, it continues with the service standards that we put in place for our team. The attention to detail, personalizing that guest experience. But at the end of the day, it comes down to hospitality. It comes down to really going above and beyond and anticipating our guest needs and making sure that we're ready for the business. And we know, what it takes to have the longevity in this industry. And, not for nothing, our goal is to scale this product. We want to develop a restaurant that is something that we take to other communities as well. And what better place than our own backyard? We want to raise the bar. We want to set certain expectations for ourselves and exceed them for our guests.
Game Day Social expected opening in May of 2026 in the Boardwalk Shopping Center on Orchard Lake Boulevard as you're heading south toward the Lodge in Greater West Bloomfield. Osam Zabir is with us from the Game Day Social Sports Bar team as they get ready for their opening in just a few months. Osam, you've mentioned so much during our conversation today, the experience. You want your customers to have that great experience that makes them want to come back, makes them want this to be their destination for that big game every single time, every single season, every single sport. How do you approach that? What do you hope will ultimately be their feelings, these customers, when they leave your restaurant after a meal and after a good game?
It starts with us. We want to have a place that we would want to go to and we would want to eat at, and we would want to celebrate these victories and enjoy a game. We want to make sure that collectively we put out a product that we would want to visit and we would want to give our business to. So once we all came to the agreement of what our goals are and we put our brains together, we really did come up with an awesome product. And again, we've taken our time. We've had the luxury of, working with a lot of different designers on what the renderings look like. We've not cut a corner as far as what we're doing from a service standpoint. We want to make sure that, again, we're going above and beyond where somebody walks away and they're like, wow, that server was really nice, or wow, that bartender made an awesome drink, or wow, they have, everywhere I turned, there was a place to watch the game. We want to have that ringing endorsement from all of our customers that come in and, really get to enjoy what they have going on when they come in there.
Lastly, Osam, I'm sure that homeowners nearby will be wondering this as they hear about this new bar going in. So often people associate sports bars with being loud, raucous environments, late nights where, people nearby are trying to sleep in their homes. Those on Leslie Crest, it's quite literally over the fence in their backyard where they get to the Boardwalk Shopping Center. So what should people know about the hours, about the noise and all that? What can they expect from your bar that maybe is different from what they would typically expect from most sports bars?
Well, we want to be respectful to our neighbors, right? And we're taking the approach of, not necessarily even the neighbors that live behind us, but our neighbors to the left and to the right of us within the strip mall. So we're soundproofing the building. We are definitely going to be cognizant of our clientele, but, above and beyond all, we want to let everybody know that we are establishing ourselves as a place where we definitely want you to come enjoy the game and have a great time. But at the end of the day, if a touchdown gets scored, everybody's going to cheer. We're just getting way ahead of that to make sure that doesn't become any kind of issue whatsoever. And we met with all of our neighbors in the neighborhood behind us. We sat down, we went over basically what our game plan was, and I think they walked away happy and impressed with us being way ahead of the ball. We want to, get ahead of any type of issue that could possibly arise so that we're not a nuisance. We want to be the best neighbor they've ever had. the neighbor that comes over with a plate of cookies, or at this point, a plate of chicken wings. So we've gone above and beyond, and we're just excited to bring this brand and this type of venue to the area.
Going to be an exciting time in Greater West Bloomfield, middle of the summer on the Boulevard, a new sports bar to add to that experience as you're going up and down Orchard Lake. Osum, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Tyler. Have a great day, bud.
Appreciate it. Wishing you and your team the best of luck as you get started. The Game Day Social Sports Bar expected to open in West Bloomfield in the Boardwalk Shopping Center in May of 2026. To keep up to date with them and all their updates, visit their website, GameDaySocialBar.com. One more time, that's GameDaySocialBar.com. And hey, you know what? A lot of big games here in the fall also right here. Maybe they got to do something different, set themselves apart, put Laker football on their screens as well. We'll see about that. Winter weather in Michigan is always a fickle beast, from dangerously cold temperatures and several inches of snow, and then next thing you know, it's 60 degrees, it's sunny, it feels like the middle of summer. Close to home, that means uncertain conditions for winter recreation on the lakes and other waterways in our community. It also means special training for our first responders when dispatch calls with an emergency on the water. Civic Center TV reporter Jake Schaff has the story.
Winter is beginning to wrap up here in Greater West Bloomfield, which means it won't be long before the snow and ice you see around me begins to melt. But that can also mean dangers if you are out on frozen surfaces with nowhere to go. Thankfully, it's the time of year for the West Bloomfield Fire Department to be initiating their ice rescue training exercises to help rescue people who have fallen through the ice and into frigid cold waters.
So annually we put this training on. Majority of it is obviously for ice rescue, safety. People out here ice fishing, doing sports, people fall through the ice, so we need to be prepared for that. The reality is majority of what we're going to do is pets and deer that get trapped out on the ice. So we set up a game plan. We have different tactics we have for different types of scenarios, and we execute them out here today in a controlled environment. So it's nice to get groups of guys out here, men and women, give their opinions and their expertise and knowledge on how to go about things. We do tend to change these trainings and these tactics every so often to be more proficient at it. We've hired quite a bit of new people. They have not yet to get to experience this, so it's really good exposure for them as well.
Is this your first time going through this training?
It is, yes. I'm new to the fire department, so I'm getting the first times for all these trainings. It was super cool, very eye-opening to see the efficiency of the equipment that we do have and how it does work, keeps us dry, keeps us warm so we can function well. We're trained to be proficient and calm in all these situations, so it's nice to go through it and feel like I know what I'm getting into if we do have an emergency that arises.
Yeah, so with how we run the trainings, we typically have a hole in the ice, somebody is stuck down in the ice, and we approach as a team of 3 to 4. A couple approach from the front to calm the person, one approaches from the back to enter the water, and then we have this buoy that we tie around them, and then we have a rope bag with about 200 feet of rope that we can use to pull this person out with the 3 other people.
These Mustang suits this is what this is for. I mean, honestly, I could be in that open water that we've cut out there. I could be out there for a very long time and be comfortable. They're dry suits. They're waterproof, so it keeps us very safe. If we didn't have this equipment to be able to get out there and safely rescue someone, we end up possibly being victims ourselves. Being out on the water, regardless if it's 2 inches or 16 inches like it is today, it can be very unsafe. So to be aware of your surroundings, be aware of the potential hazards out there, and just know that your fire department for your community is constantly training on even things that we may never have to do, but we're ready to do that when it comes time.
What do you hope are the biggest things the people of Greater West Bloomfield can understand about this level of ice rescue training with the fire department?
That even though we look like we're having fun out here, it's a lot of work. This is one of the one training out of the many that we do each year, and just to stress the importance of our equipment, our gear, and our consistent training.
I know summer may be tempting, but it's not time to get out on the water just yet. It's still important for residents to avoid thinning ice and frozen surfaces, but the West Bloomfield Fire Department is prepared and ready to help you should any incident occur. For Civic Center TV, I'm Jake Schaff.
Special training for our local firefighters. Every single one of them has to go through that training. We spoke recently to Captain Jeff Letkowski, who's the training captain for the West Bloomfield and Tri-City Fire Department here in our community, who mentioned even more details on what they undergo, why they undergo it, and how it applies to emergencies that tend to happen this time of the year in greater West Bloomfield and surrounding communities. For that, CivicCenterTV.com on our on-demand page. Otherwise, more helpful safety tips all year round can be found on the West Bloomfield Fire Department's Facebook page, facebook.com/WB Fire Department. All throughout the school year, the West Bloomfield Educational Foundation has local classrooms on their mind, focusing on fundraising to help teachers execute their lesson plans and enrich the learning experience of students all across greater West Bloomfield. Recently, their strategies for fundraising have changed, with former events like casino night out the door, but the impact on our schools has only grown stronger in the process of those changes. I spoke to Juliet Joswick and Kelly Petrosella from the Educational Foundation for more details. Ladies, thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us, Tyler.
Glad to have you on. Juliet, I'm going to start with you. Can you share sort of how the strategies in fundraising have changed so far in the end of 2025 into 2026, and how that's already having an impact on these classrooms that the funds and these programs are supported by?
Thank you. Yes, we added a lot more programming to our fundraising efforts. We did a photo shoot. We have kindergarten kits that we are selling, raising money for the foundation, and we switched up our very big annual fundraising event just to change things up, because we've been doing the casino night for years, probably a decade, and we wanted to kind of give the opportunity for our supporters for something new, something fun.
And you know, some of those changes are a bit off of the tradition of years past. Of course, casino night, something that people loved to attend each and every year, and now that's not going to be there anymore. But how do you replace that with new traditions and bring something in that you know will excite the people, but also be able to be so exciting that it brings in that same sort of excitement, of course, that fundraising from something like casino night in years past?
Yeah, I mean, fundraising can be fun, and so we actually are going to do a Kentucky Derby Gala. May 2nd is when the actual race will be, so we'll be able to watch the race live. We will have games, we'll have contests for best dress, couples, and best hat. We have one of Metro Detroit's really well-known bands. It's called 40 Amp Fuse. They're going to, 50 Amp Fuse, who are going to be, just having people up and dancing. We're going to have dinner. We're going to have just wonderful opportunities for people to connect. They can really dress up in their seersucker suits and their fancy dresses. And it truly is all for a great cause.
Juliet Joswick and Kelly Petrosella are with us from the West Bloomfield Educational Foundation. Kelly, I want to bring it over to you now, because this fundraising can bring in a lot of money that can go a long way to help our teachers and ultimately help our students. So as those funds come in, how is it determined where they ultimately end up and what programs they support in our schools across West Bloomfield?
That's a great question, Tyler. We have a grant program that we offer to teachers and staff throughout the district. So they are able to apply at the beginning of the school year through till about October for grants. We have guidelines on what we will approve grants for, and they submit those, and then we go through each grant. And really our goal is to give every teacher and staff member that applies for one the grant, as long as they fall within the guidelines of the West Bloomfield Education Foundation.
And then you also see the impact quite immediately. You know, the funds go to these teachers and these grants. They put what they've proposed in motion, and then you see how it helps the students. You know, why is it important to have something like this in place, a foundation that's specifically thinking about taking those next steps for teachers to enhance those lesson plans?
Yeah, it really is allowing the teachers to elevate their learning for the students. We've provided, I miss Mrs. Caldwell's class in the middle school is learning about ancient Egyptian culture. And the foundation was able to provide materials so they could do work on papyrus paper and writing hieroglyphics and building pyramids. So it's really allowing them to learn outside of the textbook.
Juliet Joswick also with us from the West Bloomfield Educational Foundation. How does feedback from both the teachers and the community impact both sides of the coin, the fundraising aspect, and then ultimately where these grant funds go to after the proposals are in and your team decides which programs to fund?
Wonderful question. So when we read these grant applications, I feel like I'm getting an associate's in education, because the research and just the amount of work that these teachers do to really justify these purchases, and each grant can go up to $750. I learned so much about how education helps kids, obviously, but really the science and very detailed explanation of why they need certain items. And one of the ones that I want to talk about, if I can, is at the high school, they have an American Sign Language class, and they ask for green screens and ring lights so they can produce their own videos. I just, for the ASL community, how fantastic is that, making it more mainstream? One of Dr. Bazzi asked for a grant where she sits down with kids and they go over a social contract. That social contract is a contract between the teachers and the students for the entire school year, and it's a collaborative situation where they agree to be respectful and accountable, and this is how these kids learn how to operate in today's society, and so needed.
And these programs, Kelly, they can really have an impact on the students and the teachers. It improves the morale. It makes the teachers feel more involved in the behind the scenes that leads them into what they're able to do in the classroom. But ultimately, what matters is the kids. So how has feedback from the students themselves on some of these programs also impacted the decisions being made, maybe behind the scenes, or the way you approach your work with the foundation?
Yeah, I really think for the students, it's giving them the ability, like I said, to learn outside the textbook. And so a lot of these grants are being awarded, and it's, manipulatives or games. It's ways of making learning fun. And so it's taking it from, rather than having a teacher stand at the front of the classroom and give a lesson on something, they're able to do hands-on learning. And so I do think it helps the students be more engaged and feel like they're a part of what they're learning rather than just listening to someone talk.
And it's important, too, to have that involvement from all different elements, from, of course, the foundation, the teachers telling you what they need, putting those grant proposals forward so you have a better idea of some of what you're going to be funding going forward, and then still, the most important, what is the impact of all of this work? Juliet, going back to you, because those little fundraisers here and there that are now going to be popping up, some of the bigger fundraisers that are changing, all of those do have a pretty significant impact. So for the person at home that may be like, okay, well, I haven't gone to casino night because I'm not much of a gambler, I don't have all this disposable income, I want to maybe lose at the blackjack table or whatnot, or I don't want to attend all these events. Those little donations you can make just when you can, how far can they really go to help our classrooms here in West Bloomfield?
Well, if they don't want to attend the event, but the Kentucky Derby is going to be off the hook fun, they can go to WBEF.org and they can actually donate. We're actually working on a program to include more of our West Bloomfield alumni, and also to get some engagement with more of the community, and also having sustaining memberships where they can just keep giving every year to the foundation. But I think a couple of the other programs that we have is a Grow With Me, where they get kindergarten kits and T-shirts. We also are doing a 50-50 raffle. Yeah, we want to blow the doors off of our fundraising efforts. We want when you see these kids absolutely their eyes in their jaw hits the ground when they see all the cool things that they can learn with. They're not toys. These teachers have researched what they want, and they're not toys. Sure, technically they're toys, but they're very, very crafted to help kids understand sharing and collaboration, and it's fantastic to see. I'm actually substitute teach whenever I can for the school district, so I see the impact from kindergarten to high school. It's fantastic.
Yeah, when you have the right tools in place, you can make learning that much more fun, that much more engaging, especially for those younger students, but even for those older students who have formed their own opinions. They're starting to mold into their own personalities. It may not mesh well with the traditional way of teaching this lesson versus that. Those things can really be that bridge between the goal of the lesson plan and the needs of the student. Really important to have all of that in place. More information on the West Bloomfield Educational Foundation is on their website on WBEF.org, and on social media. Follow them on Facebook and on Instagram at West Bloomfield Ed Foundation. Juliet Joswick and Kelly Petrosella join us on the Splash Live today. Kelly, both you and Juliet have taken that big leap from not only helping out the West Bloomfield Educational Foundation by attending events and making donations, but giving your time as well for parents, for members of the community that love to support our schools. Why is joining with your team at the West Bloomfield Education Foundation the way to go to do that?
A solid school district, a school district that has kids going off to college and trade schools and having the means to really develop themselves. Having a strong school district, and I'm putting my realtor hat on now, it increases the value of homes. It just makes the community more economically viable. It increases just a wealth of people coming into the school district.
And Kelly, I want to ask sort of the same thing to you, but in a different light. Looking back on your involvement so far, what are you most proud of? What do you wish you knew going in that would have maybe inspired you to dive in earlier or dive into this fundraising work, this volunteer work with the foundation with a little bit more oomph than maybe you came in with?
Yeah, I'm most proud of all the changes that we made within the foundation. I mean, we went from basically a single fundraiser group to now we're doing multiple different things. We're trying to throw different things at the wall and see what sticks, to see what the community would enjoy and be willing to give towards. And so we've generated a lot of phenomenal ideas. I always say we're a small but mighty board, and the women that I work with on this board, I'm very proud to stand beside, and I think we're doing some great work and making some great progress.
Two great advocates for the West Bloomfield Educational Foundation, an organization that's all about advocating for our teachers and for the students at the end of the day. WBEF.org is the website for more information, including info on their big event coming up. A brand new fundraiser replacing Casino Night is their Kentucky Derby event coming up. Juliet, before we let you go, give us the details on that very fun day that will go a long way to help our teachers in 2026 and beyond.
Okay, thank you so much for this, for the ability to do a little plug here. So the event, we'll probably roll out our ticket sales. We do have an early bird opportunity, $80. We'll get you dinner, dancing, games, watching the race live. We will have silent auctions. We will be pulling the winner of the 50-50 raffle. So there will be a lot of action-packed things happening at the gala. We will have it at Edgewood Country Club, which was recently renovated. Like I said, we have 50 amp fuse coming in. We're just going to blow the doors off the club with the fun and the funds that we raise. And again, it goes to such a much needed group of people, teachers and students. I mean, we all know that an educated society just does better. in so many ways.
And often in classrooms, even here in West Bloomfield, those teachers from the baseline are bringing a lot of those different materials for enhanced learning in themselves from their own pockets. This allows an organization supported by teachers, by parents, by members of the community to help them out with that and enhance the learning of our students across all of our schools in the West Bloomfield School District. Juliet, thank you for joining us, and also Kelly, thank you as well for being with us on the show today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler.
You can follow along and join them in their efforts to enhance the classroom experience for our teachers and our students. WBEF.org, the place to go to get involved and make those donations as well. That's our show. I want to remind you that television that's close to home is always online on CivicCenterTV.com and all across our social media. Thank you for joining us on today's adventure, and a big thank you as well to our crew for making this very thing possible each and every day. For our entire team at Civic Center TV, I'm Tyler Kieft. Thanks for tuning in to The Splash Live.